People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all well and safe, and I hope you're doing even better than that, and I'd like to extend that to your family members. Now, for context, it's the afternoon, it's around 4 p.m. You know, I'm waiting for 5:55 when, you know, the Champions League will clock off. Yes, I've other rival fans watching this. Arsenal are not in the Champions League. Ha ha ha. I get it, I respect it. You banned us for years for not being in it. You banned us for when we're not in it. But I'm still looking forward to seeing the Champions League. And just all the football in general this week, really. You got Europa. Not that I can be too enthusiastic about that. And you've also got, obviously, we'll play on Sunday against Leicester. Now, that Leicester game, I hope Aubameyang gets back to goal scoring ways. I know a lot is said about Aubameyang and big games. You know, in the last 2 games, he hasn't had a shot. Now, I think there's, you know, for me, you know, I have to put the blame first and foremost at Aubameyang, because I don't like when, you know, for Pepe, I sympathise with Pepe. You know, he's been in the, there's many things we can talk about Pepe, but just the one point, you know, people talk about he needs a right back behind him for a partnership and all of these things. I get that. I agree with that. You know, you need a right back. You know, when Maitland-Niles plays with him, he's dramatically better. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. While I have sympathy for the system, for the turbulence that surrounded Pepe, for the team not playing to his strengths, for this right back thing, like I've said, I hold all of that on one side. But when I remove that and I look at the individual, you know, Pepe is not banging consistently because of Pepe. You know, there's not getting a run of games, but you know, there's things you could do on the field to be better. You can demand the ball, you can change up your game, you can go searching for the ball. And the same goes for Aubameyang. You know, I've been saying in my vids, Aubameyang's a quality player, and he's picked up where he's left off at Arsenal, where he was at Dortmund, in just scoring goals. Lord knows where Arsenal would be last season without his goals. Let's not cap, he's one of the best signings we've made in the Emirates era, in my opinion. You know, if I had to do my starting 11 XI, you know, Aubameyang's probably up front, if not any, you know, players signed during the Emirates era. You've got to have Alexis, you've got to have Aubameyang. They're the 2 assurances within that team. Tierney at left back as well. Throwing Sagna at right back, to be fair, because I was just humoured myself. But, you know, like I said, it's a miracle because we don't play to his strengths. We're not unnecessarily, we haven't been an attacking centric team. We, similar to Pepe, I think we don't play to Aubameyang's strengths. Very rarely does he score them goals where he's hit behind, the ball's played in behind. I think he scored one like that against Everton or Newcastle, one last season against Spurs. Obviously in the Community Shield he's been able to do that against Liverpool, and in the FA Cup he was able to do that as well during our cup run. You know, maybe the best example is City at Wembley. You know, it's well documented what he did in that game. We don't play to his strengths, you know, we've never been playing to his strengths. But at the same time, Aubameyang not shooting or Aubameyang not scoring goals is him. You know, he's got to pattern it for himself. A lot of stuff is made, you know, always. When Kane ain't scoring, when Sergio ain't scoring, conclusions are drawn. You know, in Aubameyang's case, you know, people never questioned his desire and his hunger and his work ethic. He stopped scoring goals. Is he complacent because of the contract and the rest of it? Is he declining? Now, naturally, as a footballer, he's going to be on the decline. He's winding down. You know, age catches up with everyone. I know he came into his sort of top class quality self late. I know the way he looks after himself. Obviously, he seems like he looks after himself well. He's lived in Italy where, you know, their players play forever, so he's probably he's hardly ever injured. He looks after himself, but there's nothing wrong with necessarily being on the decline. He's getting older. He probably have to change his game and whatnot. There's nothing wrong. He's adaptable. You know, pace is one thing, and his game is reliant on a lot of pace. But he's a goal scorer. He will be fine. You know, for me, Aubameyang should have a goal. I want to see. You know, he's killing my fantasy league people. He's not scoring goals. You know. People saying he's not a big game player, like he hasn't scored against Liverpool, United, Chelsea, you know, many big FA Cup finals, semi-finals, pulling us through the Europa. Yes, there's been moments he's been poor like everybody and been anonymous like everyone. The man isn't Superman. But, you know, I mean, you should imagine, Arsenal fans go through this little weird thing with Aubameyang, you know. It's like now they're questioning his desire, begging him to stay before. You know, you go back 2 summers ago, man, we're saying sell Aubameyang, you know. Many fans will forget that fans were saying to sell Aubameyang. Now, the problem is with Aubameyang's drought or mini drought is I don't think it's a problem. I think he'll get back to goal scoring ways. I think he'll be up there with the charts, because I think that's what Aubameyang's been doing. I think he knows the league, he knows how to score goals. But at the end of the day, every game that he doesn't score, I can't really sit here and say it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. We kind of have to talk about it. It's always a story until it's none. Like I said, I think Aubameyang's attitude is still there. I think his desire is still there. You know, if anything, his desire has to be there more at Arsenal than it would be if he went to Barcelona or whatever, because, you know, Barca and these teams, 9 times out of 10, they're going to win trophies. You're going to be part of the team. If he really wants to do his part, he needs to pull his finger out. And I don't think he's complacent at all. I don't think he's hungry at all. I think that's contracts giving him stability and security, and he can focus on football. But it is a problem. And obviously him playing on the left. Now, for me, I'm sure like a lot of you, I hear what people say about general play and all of these sort of things, but Aubameyang is a goal scorer. Yes, he can play on the flanks. He might even prefer to play on the flanks. We can't rule that out. You know, he's done it well for Dortmund as well. But at the same time, for me, you're playing through the middle, you get a better Aubameyang, you know. Obviously, some games you might have to go lacquer, pull him out wide, go 2 up front. You know, football's a game, you know, out 38 games. How you play against City is going to be different to how you play against Liverpool. So everyone, you know, one thing doesn't have to be the one thing that's set in stone. Aubameyang doesn't have to play every game through the middle, as much as I believe that. You know, you can dibble and dabble and do other stuff. For me, he plays through the middle because it's not rocket science. He plays through the middle. He's in areas where he's going to score more. There's been games where he scored from the left. Equally, there's been games where, you know, the team has had 2 banks of 4. We're not really creating. And honest to God, and we're chasing the game, and honest to God, if I was one of them defenders, I couldn't believe my luck. I'd be saying, Arsenal are chasing the game. Yeah, we're set up well. They're trying to break us down. And their top goal scorer, one of the league's most potent goal scorers, one of the most lethal threats in the league, is out wide trying to cross the ball. You know, it's a double-edged sword. I wouldn't mind that. You know, with Aubameyang's movement, anything can happen. But if I'm a centre-half, I don't mind that, really and truly, because he's less likely to score or pop up in those areas. You know, I still think he'll score goals. I think for now, we should go with Aubameyang through the middle and go with Saka on the left. And I would give Pepe, I know Pepe was poor against City, but I'd give him a run out. You know, Willian's been afforded a run in the side since the start of the season. He hasn't taken his chances. I'm not saying Pepe's not frustrating. I'm not saying he doesn't need to do more. I'm not saying anything. But as much as I think he was poor against City, you know, he's had sub appearances, but he's been thrown in, you know, in a big game and expected to do things. Willian's coming into it off form. Not that I'm putting the 2 players together. To Aubameyang though, and you look at expected goals. Now, I'm not someone that harps on about stats, but it's been doing the rounds of Twitter, and it really made me wonder, is it sustainable? Because I keep saying myself, it's a miracle Aubameyang has been scoring these goals at this club, with him not playing in goal scoring positions necessarily, with us not playing to his strengths. With current day, you know, we can't string a ball together. We can't pass a ball forward. We can't really create chance. Things that Arsenal fans, definitely those that are around in the 20 region, as in 20 years of age and whatnot, we were accustomed to a lot of things under Arsene Wenger, which, you know, top 4, I would say creative players. Like, you know, our problems used to be the spine of the side, you know, or the centre-halves, the defensive mid, potentially a goalie, or ironically, you know, the worst was we need a striker that's levels. I remember the days where we had technical footballers where we had to force someone to play on the wing. I'm not saying I want to get back to that because we need different profiles. My point is, you know, being able to pick out a pass, dictating possession, you know, the Wenger ball, the 2-touch, zip passes. These things are gone. These things are to be taken for granted, you know. And how much can I expect a striker to score if he's not been given them? It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like if you're going to screw something into the wall, you know, you need a drill. Your drill's the main source, you know. But what assists you? You know, the nails, you know, the midfielders are the nails. Without them, you can't put the thing in, you can't put a bracket in the wall. You know, the drill makes the difference, and it's the heavy duty and gets all the headlines because that's what it's needed for. But you got no nails to assist the thing, you can forget it. The thing's coming out, innit? So I do think we know we need more creators. We're not going to get that until January. We know we need to solve the problem. But at the same time, I think Aubameyang's got to dig it out himself. But again, it is concerning. You look at expected goals per game from the left, it's 0.36%. His goals expected per game playing centrally is 0.65. Now again, stats can be manipulated, stats can change. If he bags 4 goals next week against Leicester from the wide position, his expected goals thing will change. You know, it will fluctuate. But, you know, I have to admit, while I think his actual footballing age isn't 31, I think he's a couple years younger. While I think his pace is still there and whatnot, I'm beginning to think, you know, is Aubameyang starting to adapt his game? Because it doesn't matter how well you look after yourself, you have to adapt your game. You know, we hear Ronaldo's biological age in terms of his biological age and his, you know, training body age is 10 years younger, but time catches up. You know, it's not the Ronaldo at Man United, billions of step overs and dinging past man. Now he knows that, you know, he's still quick, don't get it twisted, but he knows, okay, cool, I can't do what I used to do. He's adapted his game. He's more of a goal scorer now. You know, how he's played at United is different to how he's played at different stages of his career, even at Madrid. He, you know, perfected his game and, you know, carried on that Man United Ronaldo. Then he moved centrally and then he changed his game a bit, you know, where he was a bit more focused just centrally and on goal scoring. I'm not saying Aubameyang's Ronaldo, but are we at that stage with Aubameyang where he is quick, but he has to adapt his game, in which playing central? Now, for me, I just want problems. You know, the one place we've got is problems in the attacking third. You know, do you play Aubameyang, which I believe you do, or do you play Lacazette? Do you play both of them? Do you bring in Martinelli? Do you bring in Saka? You play Pepe? What do you do with Willian? These are the issues Arteta needs as a team, but. While I want him to return up front, you know, could we be running him into the ground? Could this come back to haunt us? Could we be experiencing this decline? Again, I don't think so, but I'm more just using this to bounce off you guys, really, because expected goals, again, you move him centrally. Could it be good to just move him? Is he lacking confidence? You have heard he's been carrying a bit of a knock, and obviously he's just been poor in games. I think he's cool. You know, you see his Instagram, he's aware of all the comments that are being said, and he's just getting on with it. You know, football's a fickle game. You know, you can't go from begging a man to just saying, you know, he's this, he's that, and the other. Again, it's about what you're doing on the field, so I know a lot of you understand what I'm saying, but it is what it is. And then you've got Darren Bent. You know, I understand he's at TalkSport. You've got to make your engagement levels and do some nonsense. But he said, it's not the fact he hasn't scored, it's the performances. Before he signed his contract, he was absolutely everywhere, tracking back, putting in tackles, breaking forward. There was a real hunger and intensity. You can see there's been a massive drop-off. I don't agree. I mean, you still see him tracking back. I can't lie to you. You still see him getting forward. You saw him visibly frustrated with his team against Man City because he's making runs and it's not being hit. Like I said, poor form is poor form. But his desire, his work ethic, all of that is still there in my opinion. And this feeds into the rhetoric of another man, specifically another foreign player, that signed a contract and taking his foot off the gas. I don't think that's the case with Aubameyang. Like I said, if he goes out and scores a hat-trick against Leicester, what do people say? But excluding Darren Bent's silly comments, you know, you have to consider, has he declined? Is he in a bit of a rut? You know, this is said about all strikers, really and truly. Bent went on to say, I mean, he's Bent, like his opinion is Bent, and ironically his last name is Bent. But he said, I don't know if it's coincided with the new contract, but you can tell he's not playing with the same intensity that he had before. So I'm not going to say any more about it, but I mean, it's just down to him to do the job, really and truly, and shut these sort of comments them up. So we're going to have to see what happens, man. Moving away from that, and Rob Holding, you know, he hasn't had the greatest of times with injuries. He's been very unfortunate. He was getting a run in the team. Apparently, according to the Daily Mail, Arsenal fear Rob Holding will miss between 3 and 4 weeks with the hamstring injury that forced him out of Saturday's game. And that's expected, you know. How many of you is expecting anything from 2 to 4 months? I mean, 2 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. You know, it is what it is. I'm not too sure on Mustafi's fitness. Again, Saliba might get an opportunity, but it does seem like we're down to our bare bones in defence almost. You know, Socrates not been named in the Europa and apparently hasn't been named in the Premier League side, as has Mesut Ozil. You know, Rob Holding is injured. Marie, honest to God, I don't know where the level is, where his fitness level is at, but if he's fit, he'll get opportunities. You know, it's sad. And for Holding, it's sad because he's doing well for himself. Whatever you think about him, you know, he somewhat convinced Arteta to not let him go on loan or permanent. And he backed it up this season with his opportunities. So I'm all happy to see that. And I'm sure he's been dreaming of the Euros or whatever potentially after seeing Maitland and his fellow young teammate, well, Maitland's other young Arsenal academy grad in Saka make his debut. You're only going to do that by playing on a consistent basis. So for me to not have that option, to be weaker there, you know, Tierney and Kolasinac, you know, we can get away with a 3 at the back with one of those being drafted in. Hopefully more so Tierney. They're moving a Maitland or a Saka or whatever. There are things we can do to get around the situation, but it is sad. Apparently he had a scan to assess the severity of the injury today, which was today. And the diagnosis could see him miss Arsenal's next 6 fixtures leading into the international break. And you lot know us, you know, whether you was going to start him against Manchester United or Leicester or not, we need our full strength squad available. We do have a lot of Europa League games to come in, and the games are coming thick and fast, and there's going to be a lot of rotation, so it makes it harder for us. But you know, if I'm these centre halves that are registered and not playing, you should be relishing this. You know, this is an opportunity to make your mark. From slightly better positive centre half news, and just in relation to a man's health, apparently, you know, good friend of Rob Holding, Callum Chambers' recovery is going better than expected, and he could return to action in a matter of days. This was reported by Football London. Apparently, Chambers was initially expected to be out of action for a year, but the Arsenal man is now well ahead of schedule as he fights to return. Now again, him being deemed as fit, he's still got to play matches to get match fit. There's probably still a bit of rehab. Again, you know, Chambers has had an unlucky time with injuries, you know, quite a lot. there's a lot of mental wounds to heal, which I hope he's strong enough mentally. And again, Chambers, clearly the club want to listen to offers. I'm not going to lie, Chambers is one of them I wouldn't mind keeping in the squad, like 5th choice, you know, Europa League rotate. But he's equally someone I'd be cool to listen to offers with. I think he was unfortunate to get injured when he did, because I think he did okay with the opportunities he got last year. I don't know if Mustafi would have got opportunities if he didn't get injured, because did Chambers not play against Chelsea or whoever it was that he got injured against? And with that injury, Mustafi's opportunity came. So for Chambers, he must be thinking, the club must have made me available. I'm out of sight, out of mind. But at one point, I was in Arteta's thinking, or he started me, so can I try and get back in there? And again, I don't think Chambers or Holding are anywhere near the England squad. But I mean, if I was one of them, I'd dream of it. And at least for 2.5 months, he's got to try and play here. Again, I like that he's a squad player, but I don't advocate really him at right back. We all remember what happened to against Swansea, sorry. But again, at least for the year, he could be a good option, especially if Holding's injured, especially with rotation, especially because he's played in a number of roles. Like, Chambers doesn't play centre mid for me, definitely, but he did that at Fulham. We know we've tried to transition him into a centre half. It hasn't really quite worked out. You know, he's actually a centre mid in Southampton's academy as well. We all know he really got his opportunity at Southampton, and the bulk of his opportunities at Arsenal coming at right back initially. So, you know, I just want Arteta to have more options to play with and whatnot. Moving away from that and back to the Daily Mail, apparently Arsenal's defender Squadron's Mustafi is likely to make a move to the Bundesliga in 2021. It's claimed that Mustafi is unlikely to be offered a new contract at Arsenal, meaning he looks set to leave the club at the end of the season. And to be fair, that was expected. That's what we need to do. He's 28 years of age. Mustafi should be the best centre-half at our club. You know, we should be crying with tears of joy saying Mustafi's now got a partner with Gabriel. Same way we're talking about who partners Gabriel, it should be Mustafi. Long story short, not to get on a man's case, we know it hasn't worked out. He needs to move on in January. You know, I don't know if he will. You know, with the COVID environment, is anyone going to move for him? We've also got, if I was him, you've also got to consider seeing out your contract. There's a potential loyalty bonus there. I don't think you're getting the same weekly wages you are elsewhere than at Arsenal. So I think it could be worth sitting on your hands to the season. But again, I'm sure he wants to play. You know, again, Mustafi, I don't even know if he's retired from international football, but he's a World Cup winner. Again, I don't think he's anywhere near the German team. But at the end of the day, you play games, you have half a chance. And, you know, I'm sure he wants to go to the Euros. Are you going to do that right now? You might have to revisit your situation in 2.5 months. And again, his next move needs to be important, because that's where he's going to probably going to be his last big move, his last big contract. You know, it hasn't specified what team in Bundesliga, but being a German international and technically never playing in the Bundesliga first division, I had to check that to make sure it's true, and I'm going to check 3 times. You want to do that, you know, you've played Premier League, you've played Italy, you've played in Spain, you ain't played in your homeland, you know. I don't know if that's a return back to, did he play for Hamburg? I could be wrong, or whoever he played with coming through the academy, but well done, Mustafi. Hopefully that could be sorted in January, we get someone off our books. Now, we'll have to see what happens, man, but I haven't got anything more to say. I was going to talk about Emile Smith-Rowe, but I think that's better yet put. In fact, might as well just do it now. Like me, I'm looking forward to seeing Smith-Rowe. Now, I'm not going to lie, against Man United, he looked a bit rusty. His pre-season has been disrupted by injury. You know, he's got a big opportunity. I don't know if he's going to be involved on Thursday in the Europa League. I'm not too sure, but he's got a big opportunity. He's of the age now where we want to see a bit more progression, and I think him and Nelson and player Joe Willock especially need to do that. We had loan offers rejected for him. Arteta name dropped him as someone that needed to get experience, and this season keen to work with. Obviously, Mesut Ozil's allegedly not been named in the Premier League list. You know, Joe Willock doesn't seem to be favoured in that 10 role. Arteta's kind of played down Ceballos in that role. We haven't brought in Auba. We have to, at least for 2.5 months, try and fix this thing in-house. And Emile's got a great opportunity. We know he's a versatile player, and you know, where he's at Arsenal, I don't think he's going to nail down right now in the short-term future that central mid-10. So at least in terms of opportunities, you know, he can play in the midfield. Long-term, I think he could play central midfield, and that's where he's home at. I think he should be looking at Grealish and Kevin De Bruyne as guide points for how his style of play should be. I'm not saying he's going to be Kevin levels. Hopefully he is. I'm just saying he should copy those players. And obviously on the flanks are quite congested, as is the midfield. So he's going to have to really fight if he wants an opportunity. And I hope to God he gets an opportunity in the Europa League on Thursday. And I hope he gets significant opportunities to show he's improved this season, people. Because he had a good year at Huddersfield, you know. Obviously on the break of it, whatever the term is, on the face of it, apparently, apologies, he scored 2 goals in 19 appearances. Now, Goals and assists is what he's going to live or die by in that role. But, you know, he's got to improve that. But for me, I think he's, you know, he just needs experience. He just needs a chance. If we're not going to bring someone in, why not? You know, he wants to ball in pockets. He can drive at people. He can play with his head up. His decision making is quite good. I think it's just a lot of mental things. I think he can be stronger. I think he needs a bit more belief. He seems a confidence player. And I just think mentally he needs to have a bit like Saka. Saka believes in a healthy way that I'm an Arsenal player and that, you know, fair enough, I played with these guys on FIFA before. They're my teammates now. And the same way they talk to me is the same way I'm going to talk to them if it needs to be said. I think Emile is still there. I still don't know if he genuinely believes he's supposed to be an Arsenal player. Ability is the only one of the thing. You know, Emile, Saka and Nelson all got ability. You know, some people even saying Amici is better than Saka. Nelson was the clear standout in his age group, as was Emile. You know, it's now a mental thing. The technical level they've got, just minor improvements. It's mental. What separates those three is not the talent, because they've all got talent. Saka's believed he's meant to be at this level. Saka doesn't seem, he takes everything in his stride. The other two seem a bit, you know, a bit overawed and a bit whatnot. Do you get? Considering they both went on loan before Saka played senior football as well, it shows how footballers are developing at different rates. But I believe in Emile and I hope he gets his opportunity. You know, just by looking at the Huddersfield chairman, Phil Rodgkinson, who tried to get him back on loan, he said, we did inquire about something without a shadow of a doubt. We already made it clear to Arsenal before the end of the season that if Emile was available, we wanted him, but they wanted him in their first team squad. And I know for a fact there's been a lot of other interest they've rejected as well, which I can't expand on. But so yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, come May, you know, I'm talking about Emile, Nelson, Joe, like they've made progression. You know, they might not be all the way there yet, but they've made progression. Because you look at Eddie, there's still question marks, but he's made progression. He's left them free, in my opinion. He's a genuine rotation option. He's keeping Laka out the team. Saka, you already know his thing. Martinelli's unfortunate with his injury, but you already know what he's on as well. It's down to the rest to take those opportunities when they're forthcoming. It's as simple as that. On that note, though, I'm out, people. We've spoken about a number of centre-halves and whatnot, but there's not much more to expand on, apart from, you know, Mesut Ozil has apparently not been named in the Premier League side. Say what you want. It is disappointing that someone that, you know, when he signed, we ended our trophy drought and has been a good player for Arsenal, whatever people say. You know, in fact, if you don't think he's been a good player, it's quite sad that, you know, you can't say, nobody knows off the top of their head his last game. You know, I don't know. I have to go on Google and search that. It is quite sad how it's worked out now. I don't want to say his last game. He might play in January and whatnot. We know the club are saving a hell of a lot of money by not having him in the matchday squad and whatnot. So there's a lot to come out. But it is quite sad that, for me, you'll never get to say a proper goodbye, it appears, to the Arsenal fans. And it is sad, because let's not make out he was a poor footballer. Like, there's a lot to be said, but let's not make out he's rubbish. Let's keep it real. So it is quite sad, but it is what it is, people. In regards to what I'm going to do later, I'm going to watch Lucas Torreira play in the Champions League. I can't wait till he reminds football fans worldwide why he's a great footballer and how silly it was for Arsenal to loan him out. But let me not do any talking. On that note, people, Deluded, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking. Please make sure you like the video. It doesn't cost a thing. Make sure you've hit that subscription button. Make sure you got your reminders on. And if you've got a comment, please don't be scared to comment it under the video. I welcome all opinions, man. It's what makes this channel what it is for me. We've all got different opinions. There's all viewpoints. I love it, people. I love the interaction. On that note, DG.